War in Afghanistan dominating the agenda since then, it's been hard for him to set out his new blue stall. Over the past couple of weeks, he's had his first big chance, campaigning for the Ipswich by-election, which takes place on Thursday in a seat formerly held by Labour, with a majority of just over 8,000. Our political editor, Martha Kearney, spent time there with all kinds of supporters.
The anticipation is palpable, excitement's mounting. Nothing quite so gripping has hit Ipswich for ages. People just can't wait till Thursday. But it has to be said that the big fixture is Ipswich versus Inter Milan, rather than how the Blues do in the first by-election of the Parliament. This stadium is, believe it or not, the Tories' secret weapon. Local Conservatives hope that the big match here on Thursday will keep Labour supporters away from the polling booths. It's high stakes for them. This is the first by-election since their crushing defeat in June. A chance to show that changed tactics under a new manager can bring results. But the Liberal Democrats think that they can push the Conservatives into third place, fueling the ultimate Tory nightmare of being ousted nationally as the official opposition.
I never felt more like singing the blues when Ipswich win and others lose.
Pavement politics, Tory style. The lesson to go local has been learnt from past defeats. The Conservatives haven't won a by-election since 1982.
I am so sorry, but there has been a muddle.
Oh no. You haven't got your postal vote yet?
No, and I am going away any minute now when my son comes. So I'm afraid you're not going to have my vote, unfortunately.
The big issue on these doorsteps, according to the local councillor, is ornaments falling off shelves after local buses rattled by. You don't get much more micro than that. The Conservatives have certainly seen better days in Ipswich. They even had an MP here in the 80s.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. Just a few brief introductions to start with.
This press conference was billed as a big news event of the campaign, a Lib Dem defection, but rather desperate measures. A county councillor dragged right across the country to East Anglia from mid-Wales.
This is actually quite a scalp for us, and we're pleased to be able to announce him here and now.
Not an MP, though, is he?
Well, we will keep working on their members of parliament. We'll see whether or not any of them want to see the light. I suspect they will recognise that the Conservative Party, now that it is focused laser-like on the public services, is going to do a lot better. And one of the reasons we're going to do a lot better is that some people who've toyed with voting for Liberal Democrats in the past will not do so in future.
The Conservatives need all the help they can get, with an ageing membership, 2 landslide defeats and scars from a divisive leadership contest. That's why there's been a big rethink of strategy. They want to focus on schools and hospitals rather than the euro and asylum, issues which failed to woo Tory voters in June. This by-election is a chance for all the parties to debate education and health, the domestic agenda which has been overshadowed by war. That was why one Labour minister picked an Ipswich secondary school to visit this week.
Morning. Hello.
Is there a risk of complacency for the Labour government? You've got a second term, huge majority. Tony Blair's popularity has never been so high. People might say, actually, they're a bit arrogant. They're forgetting the things that really matter to us, like schools, like hospitals.
You couldn't possibly make that criticism of Tony Blair. Even in the middle of the present international crisis, he has found time to visit the key ministries handling public services. He's had meetings on the health service within Number 10. He continues to apply himself very much to those issues that matter to the public out there.
But his government's performance on education isn't rated by everyone at the school. Inspectors have given it a poor rating and placed it under special measures. One teacher blames the government for staff shortages.
All the children within our school and in all schools have one chance to have the best education they possibly can. And in order to do that, they have to be served by the best qualified, the most committed and able staff. One of the reasons why we got ourselves into difficulties has been due to a staffing problem. And I think nationally that problem is being concealed in a variety of ways. It's still there, it hasn't gone away, and it's not something that will go away quickly either.
Given people's widespread concerns in Ipswich over schools and hospitals in their area, how's that likely to affect Labour's support? We're almost certain to see a big drop in turnout. Some suggest it could even be as low as 20%. But it remains unclear which of the opposition parties is likely to benefit. The Liberal Democrats came third here in the general election and may suffer from a lack of profile since June. But their leader is bullish about doing better than the Tories.
Well, if there are signs of a Conservative fight back going on, I think I need to borrow a magnifying glass to detect it. I don't see much in the way of a spirited Conservative revival taking place here. In fact, judging by what you hear from hitherto Conservative voters, there is no great appetite at all for the Iain Duncan Smith Conservative Party.
One Lib Dem canvasser has a special claim to understand the Tory predicament. He used to be one.
The public have a long memory. The Tories didn't seem to be very keen on public services, health, education, looking after people, caring for the elderly when they were in power. And I'm not being wise after the event, because I often used to complain publicly myself about it. And suddenly to change like that and say, suddenly we're all over you, we're very keen on the public, schmoozing up to the public like that. The public aren't fools. The British people are not stupid. They know what the score is.
We decided to test out that theory down at the Ipswich Marina, hardly a socialist hotbed. In fact, it was Conservative supporters who told us, in line with opinion polls, that even they didn't trust the party's policy on public services, no matter how dissatisfied they were with the government's performance.
No, it's not acceptable at the moment, and they have got to get it better, but I don't think it's going to be easy for anybody. It's very difficult to get the skills and to keep things under control that it needs. It's a massive operation, and people shouldn't really lose sight of what they have to cover at all. I think it's very, very difficult.
Do you think the Conservatives are offering better policies?
No, not at the moment, although I am a Conservative through and through, and that's said and done, but no, at the moment I don't think it's going to be easy for anybody. Very difficult times.
How do you think the government's doing on the health service?
I haven't noticed any improvements whatsoever. None whatsoever.
Do you think the Conservative Party would be any better?
I think they're all as bad as each other, to be honest.
I put those views to the Shadow Chancellor Michael Howard, who was out campaigning by the waterfront today. But isn't the difficulty for you that however dissatisfied voters are with the Labour government's performance, they're not prepared to turn to the Conservative Party? I've been talking to voters today, and even Conservative supporters, that's very much their view.
Well, that's the task that we have to undertake. That's the challenge we face. And we know that, and we're working at that, and we're going to be producing proposals which will show people that we can make their lives better, that there's no need for things to get worse. And obviously it's pretty soon after the last election. You won't expect us to have all these proposals ready just yet, but we will be bringing them forward.
When voters are more interested in football than politics, in fact almost anything rather than politics, it's an uphill struggle for the Tories to regenerate enthusiasm for their party. In Ipswich, the politicians aren't just competing with each other, but with apathy too. There's a big event here happening on Thursday. What is it?
The football. Must be. Is that right? Inter Milan. Ipswich.
Anything else happening on Thursday?
I haven't got a clue.
No idea.
I haven't got a clue.
On Thursday night, Ipswich will find out the fate of its football team. We'll learn how much the town cares about the changing fortunes of its politicians.
Martha Kearney. And here's the full list of all the candidates standing in the Ipswich by-election, which will be held this Thursday. In a moment, we'll look at tomorrow's papers, but first a roundup of today's news stories.